Welcome back to Punching the Clock, everyone, the best MMA podcast on the entire planet. I am Jensen Lord, also known as Flagrant Sports, and join with me this time, Hayden Luz, aka Last Round Luz. No Eric Maddy this week. He's under the weather. He wanted to send a message saying Aljamain Sterling is going to get dominated, and so is Bilal Muhammad. That was his only message to send out.
I think he's just playing hooky, to be honest. You know what I mean? I think just some people want it more than others, and unfortunately, me and you showed up to play, and unfortunately, Eric is bedridden, so the show must go on, isn't it?
Just the sad reality of life. Some people want it. Some people find excuses. Others just do it, and we're doing it.
I'm not gonna lie. I do kind of miss him because I didn't get to see. I don't have to see as much as you on my screen. Like, there's a little bit of half and half, so my camera's kind of struggling right now looking at a full version of you.
Just stuck with me for an hour.
Oh, sheesh.
Okay, well, yeah, we're going to miss Eric Maddy, but he'll be back next week. Today, we're going to talk about, we just watched...
You're never going to tell my guy get well? Get well, my guy.
Oh, yeah, get better, I guess.
Piece of garbage you are. I guess. You're a piece of garbage.
We just watched the main event between Ricky Simón and Song Yadong. That was a pretty great main event. We're also going to cover UFC 288, which is, I'm pretty sure that's it, because 290 is the Nunes card, right? I don't know. 288, Sterling versus Cejudo, whatever number that is. We're going to cover that. It's next week. We're also going to cover the co-main event, Gilbert Burns versus Bilal Muhammad. Then we're going to get into your questions that kind of center around that card, so it's all going to kind of flow real naturally. And then we're going to get into the beef of the week. So, real simple episode. But yeah, let's start with what we just watched. Song Yadong versus Ricky Simón. Song recorded a 5th round knockout and a pretty impressive win given who he was going against. Another young, up-and-coming guy. A dude who's coming off of a fantastic performance against another younger dude in Jack Shore. So it wasn't any sort of like aging guy. Like, he's beating another up-and-coming stud. Man, to me, and Hayden, I want to see if you agree with this. To me, this just felt like Song making all the adjustments versus Ricky not making the proper adjustments. And that's kind of a weird way to put it, but if you'll let me explain, I feel like Simón was struggling in this fight with one, fighting off of the back foot, and I feel like he wasn't making any real adjustments to do so. I feel like the things that were working, like the feinting, the jab, some of the takedown attempts, he wasn't doing that enough. Like, the feinting was stopping Song in his tracks, but he just wasn't doing it enough. And then the jab was landing for most of the fight until Song started to make his adjustments. But it just felt like Song just neutralized everything that Ricky was able to try and do, and everything that made Ricky Simón the great fighter that he is. The wrestling, Song for the most part, even though he did get taken down like 2 or 3 times, was able to get right back up. The clinch against the cage, Song pretty much completely neutralized that. Looked real strong in the in the clinch there. Then of course in the striking, man. I mean, just being able to slip Simón's jab and counter big with some like right hooks, left hooks, whatever, and then displayed a lot of great anti-wrestling techniques, front kicks, knee feints up the middle. Just a bunch of great stuff, man. Let me know what you thought about this performance.
So I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I also disagree to an extent. So to my first point, I don't know who Ricky Simón thought he was fighting on the back foot. He thought he was like Volkanovski or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, also with that said, going back and rewatching it a couple more times, he didn't spend a tremendous time on the back foot. He was going forward, and he was finding a home for that jab through rounds 1 or all the way through rounds 1 through 4, right? But it was Song making it. Song's biggest tool in this fight was his distance management, right? So it was Ricky would throw the jab, and he would either cross counter or hit him with the check left hook. It was just his vision in this fight and his distance management. Even when Ricky would try to shoot, he would just be out of range, but he would still be in his own kicking range to cause damage. I feel like that was my biggest takeaway for Song in this fight was his distance management. And a lot of good signs early on to, like you said, to neutralize Ricky. Like you said, he took him down, bounced right back up. Got into that clinch scramble, the cage wrestling scenario where that's where Ricky does his best work, and Song looked like the stronger wrestler there. You follow what I'm saying? So, like, there was a lot of good signs early for Song landing that lead low kick early to kind of make Ricky a little bit more hesitant on coming forward, a little bit more hesitant on planting on the jab. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like my biggest thing for Ricky, it wasn't that like he got neutralized. He just wasn't doing enough. Like I said, he was landing the jab consistently. He was landing the right hand as well. He was cutting to the weak side often, but he just wasn't doing enough, and he wasn't capitalizing. He would switch to southpaw, create the angle, and then just kind of take a back step and shift again. You know, he wasn't
Right.
capitalizing when he was creating an angle. But like I said, a lot of that is to do with the distance management of Song Yadong, being out of range to be able to see the takedown coming, but still being in range to kick to smash away at the low kick, and then to be all the way in box range, doing great damage that liver shot as Ricky was trying to circle away. A lot of good things to say about Song Yadong. Super explosive, super athletic, super talented. My number one takeaway from this, it's not going to happen. I need Ricky versus Murad. Excuse me. Murad versus Song.
Yeah, that's a question I was going to ask you a little later on. We can get to the matchups in just a moment, but let's
Sorry,
kind of.
jump into that.
No, you're good. Yeah, man, I was super impressed. I don't want to just harp on too much about Ricky not doing enough because at the end of the day, I feel like we have to give Song Yadong a lot of credit here because, man, he did a lot of what he's been doing his whole career, mixing up his boxing combinations with the body, landing his tremendous power punches with like his check left, and showed some good low kicks, whatnot. But man, I mean,
I feel like not to cut you off, sorry.
No, you're good.
But I feel like those body attacks was doing a really good job to being able to find Ricky. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The front kicks, the liver shot. It was doing a really good job of keeping him in front and finding Ricky and keeping him, you know what I mean, in striking range. Carry on, my fault.
No, you're good. And the defensive wrestling was great as well. But I just feel like, and this is one thing that Eric actually didn't agree with me on, and it's a shame that he's not on here because I really wanted to see why and have him elaborate. But I felt like, even though it wasn't perfect, I feel like Song's head movement and getting his head off the center line when countering and throwing strikes of his own, I felt like it was good. And that's one complaint I had of him leading up to this fight. Now, he still showed some pretty questionable defensive ring craft, in my opinion, just kind of backing straight up, going right against the fence. And that's one thing I worried about going into this fight was, with how kind of rudimentary his defensive ring craft is against someone who works so well against the cage like Ricky. I really saw a reality where Ricky was just backing him up with the jab, and then once he got his back to the cage, then just being able to utilize his wrestling there
And just neutralize him.
Yeah, but I really thought that was gonna what was gonna happen, even though I picked Song. But no, I mean it was just even though he did show a lack of ability to kind of circle out and whatnot, it's just not what happened. I guess the fact of the matter is Ricky just could not get off the back foot. He could every now and then, but I don't know. I just feel like he had.
I mean, I can go both ways. Like I can side with both of you guys, but my thing is, I feel like I kind of side with you a little bit more because Song's thing is, yeah, he was taking a lot on the forearms, but his thing is he'll get you thinking he's going to keep dropping back and he'll stop on the dime, and then he'll hit you with that cross counter or hit you with that check left hook, and that's where he was having that success as well. To tack onto is just slipping and ripping as well. That's more or less his style. So I feel like, yeah, his defensive ring craft isn't top tier, but I feel like his style doesn't really rely on that. He wants guys to try to come on to him and fight in the pocket because that's where he does his best work, being so explosive and being so powerful.
Yeah.
So I can kind of go both ways, but because we did see him taking a little bit of damage off the forearms as well.
Mm-hmm. And also, the only reason I preferenced it with saying we saw a little bit of improvement was because Ricky's jab was kind of finding its home for a lot of that fight until I would say the fourth round where Song was really able to counter it effectively. But overall, I mean, once again, great performance from Song. What do we want to see? Is there anything you want to talk about before we get into kind of matchmaking?
As far as that fight goes?
Yeah.
No, I just feel like the type of you can't buy the type of experience Song has. You know what I mean? The guys he's faced at the age he's fought him at, and the damage he fought Corey Sandhagen in a very competitive fight. People don't really remember that fight quite well. That fight easily could have been 2-2 going into the fifth. And taking a really big cut like that could discourage a younger kid like that. but he came right out there and fought, like you said, an tough up-and-coming guy that nobody really wants to see in a Ricky Simone, and was able to ice and neutralize what he was able to bring to the table because of his distance management, the knees up the middle, the switches to southpaw, just a lot of these high-level things. I think and a lot of that is to do with the great corner work from Uriah Faber, who also knocked out Ricky Simone back in, I don't remember exactly what year it was. We knocked him out in the first round.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, just a great performance from Song, and I'm really excited to see where Song goes. But being the Ricky Simone fan that I still am, I'm a little bit more excited to see where he goes from here and who he fights next, and see where his confidence goes, because he's been here before. So I'm interested to see what's next for him as well. You have any ideas on what you think is going to be next for Ricky?
As far as Ricky, no, all my attention has kind of been on what's next for Song, because there's a couple of fights that I find really intriguing. But as far as Ricky goes, man,
I feel like there's only two realistic ones, and the one I feel like the one that's bound to happen is Cheeto.
Yeah, but also
because O'Malley's booked.
Are you talking about for Song or Ricky?
For Song.
Oh, okay, for Song. Yeah. For Song, you could do Merab, but Merab is supposed to face Umar, isn't he?
No, who said that?
I swear to God, that was news.
There ain't no way. No. You got baited. Bro. No, you got baited. I can promise you got baited. There ain't no way.
I swear that's what Dana said, dude.
Nah, you tweaking. I mean, maybe you know something I don't, but I very, very highly doubt that.
Okay, let me just do a quick Google search, because I swear I saw something saying that he was fighting Umar. Let me see. Merab versus Umar.
Umar's 11 and Merab's 1. I mean, granted, we've seen it with like Hamzat and Burns, but it's not that type of situation. Umar doesn't really have that type of Hamzat hype to be able to catapult. That doesn't really make any sense to me.
Okay, so it says Merab from SB Nation. This was March 27, 2023. Merab Divashvili offered Umar Nurmagomedov main event. Prefers, quote, Sandhagen sandwich, whatever that means. So I guess he was offered it. Sorry, let me pick up my phone. But I thought I saw something that was like saying that was pretty much almost official.
Yeah.
I tweaked. Okay, well, anyways. Well, I guess Merab's still free, so I do worry about him in that fight. I mean, I worry about anyone going against Merab just with how much of a machine he is, no pun intended. But the O'Malley fight would be cool. The Cheeto fight, the rematch would be cool.
I think that's where I'm leaning towards, the Cheeto fight. I think they do.
That makes sense.
But for Ricky, I'm looking at the rankings right now, and it's like, I don't know who they throw at him. Maybe they do Umar. Maybe they do Umar and Ricky, which I'm all for that, because I was even saying it before this fight that I think I'll still stand on that. I think Ricky beats Umar.
Right.
But yeah, because I don't think they throw Yanez at him. Martinez and maybe I don't think Gutierrez, and I don't think Said either. So.
Well, if you want to get Ricky's confidence back up, give him Said, who has like the weakest clinch game in the history of MMA.
Well, let's relax, because the thing is, he's a Tiger Muay Thai guy. He's a Piotr Jan sparring partner or training partner, whatever you want to call him. High level striker. Obviously, his grappling isn't the sharpest, but he still has that. What is he? Has like 2 ninja chokes, or he has at least 1 ninja choke on his resume. So it's not like he doesn't have the bag. So Said's not an easy fight for anybody.
I know. I was just like his clinch game would be a major problem going against someone like Ricky, man. But
until he catches a knee up the middle.
Okay, well, so we're thinking Umar for Ricky, and we're thinking Cheeto for Song.
Yeah, that's what I think personally. Off the top of my head, like that.
Okay, well, that's pretty much all we could say about that fight. There's not a whole lot. It's just Song just looked like the better fighter, and that's pretty much it, you know. There's not a whole lot.
It is a lot more than that. Well, this guy.
Let me throw out a possible fight for Song. Now, hear me out here.
I'm hearing you.
Okay, so this is a guy who's on the decline, but still has a big name. Is still not completely out of the competitiveness. I guess he's still competitive with the top guys, I want to say.
For who? For Ricky, you're saying?
No, for Song. This is a fight for Song.
Okay.
Someone he's on the decline a little bit, but he's still competitive with the top guys. Song's camp has a big history with this dude, so we could give him a big name, a favorable matchup, spark the rivalry back up. Let's give him Dominic Cruz.
I'm not opposed. I feel like Song deserves, no disrespect to Cruz, and this is going to sound very weird coming out of my mouth, but I feel like Song deserves a little bit more.
Right. No, I,
But it's
I,
not a
I
bad
agree with
matchup.
you.
I don't disagree though.
But if you're the UFC, I feel like that's a really fun fight you could make because like
And
the
that only mark gets Song up, especially if he finishes Cruz. Wow, yeah.
right because you think about it. So Cruz is still a big name as far as like on paper. That's a good name to have, man. I mean, Cheeto was the first guy to finish him or he was the first guy to beat him in a non-title fight in his entire
Yeah.
career. So like, he's still competitive. He still is not like he's not washed up by any means. But I think it's a favorable matchup for Song just in the sense that I feel like he could neutralize some of Dominic Cruz's wrestling, and Dominic Cruz's durability is a bit questionable at this point given the Cejudo.
It's a completely different matchup from. I know you're not saying that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a completely different matchup from Ricky. Like the way they move is
Oh yeah, of
north and
course.
south. It's
No, of
completely
course.
different.
But
You know what I
also
mean?
his durability is a big question. Knocked out by Cejudo, even though that was slightly a weird stoppage, but still like
Mm-hmm.
then the Corey
Her by Pedro.
Munoz, yeah,
Yeah,
bad by Munoz too, and then
yeah,
so it's
knocked out
like
by Pedro.
right. So he's coming off the really the only like out cold knockout of his career. Um, this could be a big fight for him. And once like I just said, Team Alpha Male versus Cruz. Spark it right back up, even though they just
Mhm.
posted pics of him and Uriah and Cody all
Cody.
friends
Yeah,
again. But at the end of the day, they're all competitors. So, like,
yeah, for sure.
that'd be a cool fight, I feel like. Cool main event. Put it in
Hmm.
California or something. I don't know.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay. Well,
Well,
that's pretty much all
what
we
do you
got for that fight. Okay. Well, from one bantamweight main event to the other, we're going to go to UFC 288, but we're going to start with the co main event Gilbert Burns versus Bilal Muhammad. I'm so glad I said this last episode, I'm pretty sure, but I'm so glad they got this fight made because after Dariush and Oliveira pulled out and got pushed back, the card was lacking just a little bit. We needed that spark, and shout out to Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad for just being like the baddest dudes on the
Yeah.
planet and stepping in. And this is an intriguing matchup too. Like this, some people have been like Eric Matty have been making this seem to be like a Gilbert Burns walk in the park, and it very well could be. But
I wish I was there for that conversation because I would love to hear his thoughts on that. That's
me
crazy.
too. That's why I'm so mad he's not here. But he says
He's
Gilbert
going running.
right.
His shit, his jokes.
Shit is jocks. That was horrible. But yeah. So is this a competitive fight for Gilbert? I already know your answer, but I just want you to elaborate.
Of course, it's a competitive fight. It's a competitive fight for both guys, isn't it?
I think
Um,
so.
but I feel like this is kind of gonna go up people's backside. No, that's not true. I was gonna say I feel like Bilal has more ways of winning the fight, but that's not really true. I feel like on the feet, Bilal has more options because the way he switches stances, he's comfortable on the back foot, he's comfortable on the front foot, and I feel like with Gilbert, it's not that he has one game plan and that's it, but I feel like he has to be very strict with a consistent pace and consistent forward pressure, putting Bilal on the back foot, cutting him off and really putting him in a box and making him feel uncomfortable. You guys know I'm a big Bilal guy, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I've said for a while, I feel like this is some of those guys that don't like getting hit. And I feel like Bilal is that guy. So if Burns can go out there early and get some respect with the hands and try to get him uncomfortable, trap him in a box, that's where I feel like Gilbert can succeed, put him up against the cage. But again, that's where Bilal does a lot of his best work is against the cage. So I feel like a lot of it comes down to who's going to be on the front foot and dictating their game plan. What do you think?
Yeah. So this is interesting because no, I agree with you. Seeing Bilal's performance against Vicente Luque, like showing how good he is fighting laterally and fighting
Mm,
like on the back foot, as you said. He has shown layers in his game. Both these guys are coming off of some of their best runs of their career. Like Gilbert is, was he on a 2 or 3 fight win streak? Beat
Gilbert's on a 2-fight win streak, Jorge and Magny.
okay, beat Neil Magny in one of his best performances of his career, and then beat Jorge, and like we all predicted, a little bit of a lackluster decision, but ultimately still needed. He still did what he needed to do, and it wasn't a
Mhm.
bad performance by any means.
No, no.
Yeah, and then Bilal's coming off of maybe the biggest fraud check of last year against Sean Brady.
Not gonna
So,
lie.
so this is I think seeing these two guys meet up kind of at the peaks of their career right now is really cool. But as far as stylistically, man, Yeah, it's just one of those things where like, how is Gilbert's power going to match up against Bilal? And then grappling wise, very fascinating because obviously you have the good wrestler in Gilbert Burns versus I would say like a really good wrestler in Bilal, but Gilbert's obviously his jiu-jitsu is world class.
That's like actually I had that written down. That's
Right.
exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and then like Bilal's jiu-jitsu's, it's there. So
But
it's
he's not much of a submission threat, is he? You know what I
right.
mean? But like I said, I feel like Bilal is the superior wrestler. But at the end of the day, this is MMA.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the grappling once it hits the mat, and we all feel that Gilbert Burns is the superior grappler. He's comfortable on top or on the bottom. We haven't really seen much of Bilal on his back, especially being a wrestler. They're not really comfortable there. So that's very interesting. And if you're gonna say who's more dangerous, it's Gilbert Burns because he can finish it on the mat and on the feet. That's kind of why I retracted my statement and saying that Bilal has more ways of winning the fight.
Okay.
But go for it.
No, I was just saying, is this confirmed? I'm just looking it up right now. Is this confirmed a 5-round fight?
I don't know. From what I'm told from you guys, yeah, it is.
Well, Eric said that, and I was just, let's see. I think it's just saying 3 rounds. I'm not seeing anything that's suggesting it's. Oh wait, Gilbert Burns. Okay, 5-round fight. Okay, so confirmed. April 20th, 2023. Yeah, so in a 5-round fight, I think Bilal's cardio is going to be a big factor in this fight because Bilal has some tremendous cardio, man.
And he weaponizes his pace, doesn't he? There's only
Yeah.
two guys like Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington who can weaponize that pace, and Bilal is also one of those guys.
Yeah.
Marab, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then Gilbert's not like a gasser, but like, has he ever been the full 5 rounds? Is that a dumb?
Yeah, Tyron Woodley.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
He looked really good. But the
Yeah.
thing is, and I don't mean to take away from him, but when you're at this level, you should be able. When you're just beating the snot out of somebody, no disrespect to Tyron, because I'm a big fan of Tyron Woodley. But when you're just beating the snot out of somebody for 20, you should be able to go 25 minutes just beating the snot out of somebody. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was a controlled beating, is what that really was.
Yeah, and also this isn't like Tyron Woodley at that point in his career is not the same fighter as Bilal Muhammad in this point. Of like the confidence levels are different, the skill at that point is different, like the athleticism. It's just a complete different fighter that he's facing. Like he's facing a hungry dude who's wanting that title shot. He feels disrespected versus a Tyron Woodley who's like kind of dejected at this point in his career.
And to kind of go into, it's like this is indirect comparison, but like going on about what you were saying about it's not the same fighter and stuff. I feel like, not to take away from Gilbert, because I feel like he's one of those guys at this point you can't really talk trash on him, because like how can you not like him for all the fights he's taken?
Right.
But go back and watch the Dan Hooker fight, and go back say when he fought Damian Maia or Wonder Boy. Spot me on any differences. He has a lot of the same tendencies of when he fought Dan Hooker at lightweight, and it's not just because of the weight. It's just the way that he fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like you said, an up-and-coming, hungry, diverse guy like Bilal, who's great at MMA. He's not the greatest wrestler, not the greatest striker, definitely not the greatest jiu-jitsu guy, but he's a great mixed martial artist. He blends it together very well. And also, I talk about this all the time, momentum. And I feel like Gilbert Burns' momentum is comparable and even more impressive to what Kevin Holland was doing when he went on that tremendous quick win streak and stuff like that. But he's not fighting the caliber of guys that Gilbert Burns is fighting, right?
Right.
But that kind of stalls me to the point of this is 5 rounds against Bilal, who's hungry, can go 5 rounds, who puts the pace on guys. And as you said, Gilbert Burns, for my money, I've been saying this even back a couple episodes ago, he's not my biggest fan when it comes to gas tanks. You know what I mean? I feel like he didn't look great in the Usman fight. He didn't look great in the Hamzat fight. So I'm and like I said, taking this fight in 3 weeks notice or somewhere along those lines, whatever it is. So it's interesting. So it can go either way.
Yeah, and also it's been, even though he hasn't taken really any damage at all in his last 2 fights, it's still training camps. It's still, like this is still like a toll that's going to take on his body. But who's to say that he can't close the distance against a guy like Bilal Muhammad, who has showed the layers in his game to be able to, get a Vicente Luque off of him effectively. And and for 5 rounds, man, who's to say that he just is not able to get his hands on him?
I'm sure Gilbert Burns will be able to find that. Because I feel like he's going to be looking to attack when Bilal was switching, because he kind of squares himself up, and that's why I feel like he's going to be looking for that big right hand. Because, like I said,
Well, I just
going
meant
back to the Dan
hands
Hooker
as
fight.
in like grappling, like clinch and all that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I feel like Gilbert Burns is just going to jab and try to get into the hips once you feel like he can't find him. But Gilbert Burns is a pretty good body puncher as well. So I feel like if he's
Hmm.
not finding him with the hands upstairs, he might just start going to the body. I do feel like we're going to see a fair bit of cage wrestling in this fight, and that's where I'm really interested to see because they're both very good at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, I mean, I just think that like I'm trying to make this feel like a fair fight because I feel like it is like, but I'm conflicted with it because on one hand it's like,
where do you feel like he's lopsided for who? Who do you think it's in favor for?
well, I feel like a lot of people are just saying that this is Gilbert's fight to win,
Well, a lot
and
of people don't like Bilal. A lot of people don't really understand Bilal.
yeah, and that's kind of the thing where it's like I feel like part of that biasness is sort of seeping into my mind where it's like, come on, Gilbert Burns versus Bilal Muhammad, but like we cannot sleep on this man Bilal. Like this man Bilal is incredibly talented. I mean, you know this. I shouldn't. I'm not breaking any news for you.
No, no, I know. My question to those people would be, what is it that Gilbert Burns does to like that much of a better level to be like he's outmatched? His jujitsu? Sure, he's much better jujitsu, but you have to get the fight there. Do you
Right.
know what I mean? And I feel like the defensive wrestling of Bilal Muhammad is top tier. I have it written down somewhere. Let's see here.
Like
Nah, I
93
lied. But yeah,
takedown
it's
defense.
something. It's like I thought it was like 89 if I was gonna go off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
it's really really high. Like Damian Maya shot like what 15, 16 shots on him. So I'm very interested. I feel like if Bilal's the underdog, I feel like there's some money there to put on him as far as the betting aspect goes. But obviously that's not what we had to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, and at least to go to the distance at the very least. I don't know if I don't see Bilal Muhammad getting finished. I don't know. He could get caught, but anyone
Yeah,
could get caught.
but I don't think Gilbert Burns is really gonna get finished unless he completely gasses out. Because even going off the Sean Brady performance, yeah, Bilal showed to be a little bit more dangerous than people would have expected, but I still wouldn't really call him dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't
He's
call
not
him
a
dangerous.
he's not a finisher, and like I feel like
Yeah.
that was more on what like the flaws that Sean Brady has in his game more than it is like,
No,
oh man,
no, but Bilal kind of flooded him and kind of like just froze him. So I think there's a lot of good things to say about Bilal, but we're getting off topic there.
right. So, who you
Final
picking?
prediction, who you got? Oh, I'm gonna throw it to you.
Okay, I'm going with Gilbert. You know what? I'm gonna say
You want to lose money?
no. I really don't. Dog, I'm broke right now.
Oh, good. I was gonna pick him plus money anyways. So carry on.
We might. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Nah, you gotta give him plus money anyways. I'm not taking it straight up.
Well, it depends who you're taking for the main event, but we'll get into that. Maybe we could
Okay.
do a little. Okay, I'm going with Gilbert Burns. I'm gonna go with Gilbert Burns by submission. I'm gonna go round 2 submission.
Wow, that's very bold.
I don't know.
However, yeah, I'm going below. I just feel like I said, if I can say one statement, it's momentum, and it can go both ways. Could it go momentum positively because Gilbert has a lot of this behind him? But I just feel like Bilal is just too high level of competition to take on 3 weeks notice. He takes a little bit more studying and training for than 3 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if Gilbert got it done, but I don't see him winning a decision. I have a tough time seeing him finishing Bilal, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Bilal decision.
I'm not mad at that, and like I really understand why you might do that, and part of me even wants to do that because it's just all the points you're making.
I think like just to keep it just to stay negative.
Huh.
What's Gilbert Burns' best win that wasn't an aging guy?
Neil
in my
Magny's
opinion-
Neil Magny's not really aging, is he? How old is he?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but he's definitely no spring chicken. He's got to be like 36.
Oh, is he
You know what I'm
really?
saying? Yeah, he's definitely bro. He's definitely up there. He's been in the UFC for a while, bro.
I
He's
thought
been
he
in the
was
UFC for, I want
like,
to say close to a decade.
huh. Well, his best
Yeah.
win off of someone. I just gotta think of who he's fought. So
I would probably say it's Gunnar Nelson, and Gunnar Nelson's not even that guy either.
yeah,
Mike Davis before Mike Davis was, you know what I'm saying? I think he fought him on his debut.
who did he beat to get the Usman title shot? Maya?
Gunnar, Maya, and Woodley.
Ugh, yeah, that's not really like popping off the page.
You know, so it's like I hear when these people talk about Kobe, bro. Kobe doesn't beat old guys. Bro,
Yeah.
shut your mouth. Who is Gilbert beat? Feel me? Like I love Gilbert, but like people make because like I'm not
Right.
even like let me say this in black and white. I'm not Kobe's biggest fan at the moment because like since I've been following me, I've been like, oh, I'm a fan. I'm not. I'm a fan. I'm not. I'm indifferent.
Right.
He's good for the sport. Very good for the sport. I love to watch him fight. I'm not missing his fights, but I'm not really backing his statements. I'm not really tracking his Instagram and stuff like that. I'm not his biggest fan.
Same.
But put a little respect on Colby Covington's name.
For sure, dude. I really
You
do
have to get
not
off topic.
tolerate. No, it's okay. Like I really don't tolerate any sort of Colby Covington disrespect unless it comes to just his kind of goofy character. Then I get it. But like, dude,
Yeah,
if you
bro.
watch this, I always talk about it with him. The eye test does not lie, man. If you just watch his
Put the
fights,
TV on mute and watch him fight.
right? Exactly. Yeah. Just watch him fight and like take out the fact that like this like bias of it's these old guys and whatnot. Just watch him fight, dude. People aren't fighting like him, man.
For
Um,
sure.
okay. Well, anyways, so I'm going with Gilbert. You're going with Blah, and so
Yeah.
with that, we get into the main event, man. It's been 3 years since we've seen Henry Cejudo step into the octagon. His last performance was a round two KO against Dominic Cruz, round two or three. Round three, actually, I think. Anyways, the last time we saw Aljamain Sterling was October of
22.
2022, where he,
Well, October 20. I think it was October 22nd, 22.
yeah, UFC 280.
280.
And where he TKO'd TJ Dillashaw inside 2 rounds. Unfortunately,
Oh.
TJ had the
Why did I say
shoulder.
that? Just skip that bit. Just skip that bit.
It's a part of this. It's been a part of his title run.
All my homies like TJ, so skip that bit.
Okay. Well, that's more of.
We were all there. We all watched it. We all
Okay, that's true. Okay, so hey, both these guys have kind of weird wins over TJ. I find that funny.
Oh, both these guys had weird wins, period.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, both
You know
their
what I'm
title runs. I didn't even realize that.
If you're being nitpicky, because I do it just to like, I don't want to say for a character. I do it for conversation, because their wins are their wins. No shade for me. Like if I was
Right.
face to face, I would be like, bro, no shade. You beat them. You know what I'm saying? But
For
for
sure.
conversation, you can be like, yeah, these guys definitely have asterisks above a lot of their like best wins.
Right.
Didn't really beat DJ, beat TJ on a broken shoulder. It goes on and on.
Yeah, I mean, we could kind of just briefly talk about that before we even get to the semantics because I do find that really fascinating. And it's part of the reason I find. So, as a mixed martial artist, and we have both agreed on this heavily, and we share the same sentiment. As a mixed martial artist, there's no denying how good Henry Cejudo is. Like, he is a phenomenal fighter. But his resume is a little odd. And and just hear me out.
If you're nitpicking, because I hate to say it, like I text it and I think I sound so smart, like I just cracked the case. But when I say it out loud, I just feel like I'm disrespecting Henry, and I just can't do that.
No,
Because
you're
he is one of the greatest competitors I've ever seen. Next
Yeah.
to Jordan, next to LeBron, next to all of them, Michael Phelps, all them guys.
no 100%. This dude, I just saw this today that was just kind of blew my mind. This dude won the U.S. Opens as a senior in high school. Like, how nuts is
What
that?
were you doing in high school, bro? You were JV in basketball.
Running cross country, dog.
What are you talking about?
But the DJ win, of course, split decision. The TJ win, dude was killing himself to get down to 125. The Moraes win, like Moraes, of course, is
wasn't
like
really the best guy in the division.
generational gasser. And then
Who was his best win?
Moraes'
Pettis?
yeah, Wilson
Henry-
Hayes.
Who was it? Wasn't
Sergio.
Hayes?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying. And then the only two losses he has DJ one where I think that was like one of his early fights, Henry, and then Joey B, which was a split decision.
Which was even earlier before the DJ fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course we all know the history with Aljamain Sterling's, just with how recent it's been, all the controversy in his title run. So I just find that really
the split decision didn't go his way. The TJ shoulder, yeah.
I actually just find that really fascinating how both guys just have just an odd career so far.
If from a pure standpoint, they don't. But from a conversational standpoint, yeah.
Like they got themselves to the position to face these guys and get these wins. And I don't
I feel
think
like if you say that, you're a nerd. Like if you say that with a straight face, like their career's questionable, you're a nerd.
Right.
You're just looking to be different. You're weird for that.
it's like those people on Twitter that are, oh gosh, that was a nasty voice crack. It's like those people, like those troll accounts on Twitter whenever they're talking about LeBron, where it's like, in my opinion, LeBron has 0 rings. First ring was a lockout shortened season. Second ring, Ray Allen saved his career. Third ring, like it's.
Well, can I be honest?
Oh god.
I'm not a football fan by any means anymore. You know, I used to be.
Talk about basketball, boy.
No, I know, but I kind of used to do that for Tom Brady.
Of course he did. What are you gonna say? He got bailed out by his defense?
Yeah, he got bailed by the Malcolm
Vinatieri.
Butler and Vinatieri and then the Tuck rule. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Jesus
but that's
Christ.
another conversation I want to dive into because I'm not educated enough to talk about it.
You're gonna talk about the goat as I'm rocking the goat. That's crazy. That's
That's embarrassing.
crazy.
Yeah, put that down.
Okay, well, let's get into the semantics of this fight.
All right, so let me take the reins here. I
Go
want
ahead.
you to tell me who you're picking, and
Mhm.
then you can get into the X's and O's, and then I'll banter back and forth, and then I'll carry on.
I'm going with Triple C, baby.
Okay, I am too. Let me just say that. But for the sake of the argument, because we're gonna get negative, I'm gonna take Aljo.
Okay,
But for the rest, I am taking Henry.
okay. I'm not mad at you for taking Aljamain. Do you
No, I
want
want
to?
you to be mad. No, I want you to be mad.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
let's get negative.
Why
Like,
the
let's get into it, kid.
Why the fuck are you picking Aljamain Sterling?
Let's get into it. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Carry
Do you
on.
wanna do you wanna go first? You want me to kind of?
No, I want you to tell me what you think about Henry.
Well, I'm just really worried about Aljamain Sterling's striking versus Henry's striking. I feel like Aljamain Sterling overextends on a lot of his punches, and yes, it is to get to his takedowns and get to the hips and whatnot. But at the end of the day, he's still overextending. He's still leaving these openings, and against a pretty polished striker like Henry Cejudo, a very intelligent striker like Henry Cejudo, I'm concerned for Aljo. I mean, this Aljo's been
Who,
knocked out
who's
before.
who? This isn't a concrete point to be like, oh, you're wrong, I'm right. Who's a better striker, Henry or Jan?
Henry or Jan? Jan.
Okay, carry on. I just want that to sit in the back of your head.
But I
Carry on.
mean, that doesn't mean that. I mean, who's a better striker, Marlon Moraes or Piotr Jan?
Piotr.
Okay, well, Marlon Moraes knocked him the fuck out, and Piotr Jan didn't.
The stylistic fights. That's what I wanted
Okay,
you to
that's
say.
my point.
That's what I was building you into. I wanted you to say that because that's literally my last paragraph. Like, my thing is like, styles make fights to where the point is, Jan definitely has the better striking than Cejudo. However, he doesn't have the the wrestling threat or to stop the wrestling in order to jar Aljo. Where Henry has, not to say good.
Okay. Okay, we're back. Sorry, my Discord tweaked, but we're back. So you're saying Henry Cejudo has the wrestling threat
Listen,
and
I don't
defense?
need you to listen. Before I was rudely interrupted, let me
Uh-huh.
carry on to what I was saying.
Yes.
So, yeah, I feel, Jan is the more polished striker, but he doesn't have the wrestling threat nor the defensive wrestling to stop Aljo. Now, Henry may not be as good as Jan, but he's, like, I don't want to say good enough as in he's not like a suffice striker, but he has good enough striking and the wrestling threat and the defensive wrestling to stop Aljo and still score with his striking. And that's the carrying on to my other point. I feel like Henry is going to use his wrestling more to counter in this fight and use it defensively to try to keep it on the feet and to keep it in boxing range and try to strike. But carry on. I don't want to cut you off and move the flow.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it might just look like the Moraes fight where he just kind of just makes it a little bit dirty and he just gets in there and he just starts kind of sprawling, brawling, you know? No, I think Cejudo might be a little bit more smarter than Piotr Jan is in the octagon. I feel like
I think that's a really good take.
yeah, and I feel like he's going to come in there with a little bit of a better game plan against someone like Aljamain Sterling. I don't think he's going to be as slow in those earlier rounds like Jan can be in his fights, especially against Aljamain Sterling. So I just feel like this is Henry's for the taking. I feel like, oh, I shouldn't say that, but I feel like he's a better striker, and I feel like he has, like you said, the wrestling to neutralize Aljamain Sterling's attack. But a lot of that is, Piotr Jan had the defensive wrestling to neutralize Aljo's wrestling attack. But the problem was Aljamain Sterling is going to shoot on you so many times. It doesn't matter how good your defensive wrestling is. If you just leave one tiny little opening,
Jan wasn't able to capitalize on it.
And so Cejudo has like low 90% takedown defense, which is phenomenal. But the only problem is he, although has faced better wrestlers like a Dominic Cruz, a Demetrius Johnson, he hasn't faced a dude that's going to shoot as many takedown attempts as Aljamain Sterling is going to shoot. So
And definitely his style. He's so funky as well. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people talk about like D3 Aljo, silly take, silly
stupid,
take.
yeah.
Because that doesn't matter. It's his style. And like that's another like talking about Roy Val as well. He's another one. Like not so much his wrestling, but like he's so awkward. He's hard to deal with. It's
Yeah.
like Wonder Boy again. it's hard to get bodies to train and get ready for those guys. Carry on, my fault.
No, that's one thing that I really agree with, and I've called Aljo myself is just awkward. Like his style,
The Funk Master, isn't it?
yeah, the way he just strikes is so weird. Like the way he moves, it's very strange, and it's not always in like the Dominic Cruz way where it's very sophisticated and whatnot. A lot of it's kind of sloppy-ish, but nonetheless, very hard to predict, very hard to get a read on. It's so awkward that it just kind of throws guys off, I feel like. And so, what was I trying to? So, yeah, he hasn't faced a guy that's going to shoot this many takedowns, and we haven't seen Henry Cejudo on his back. So, like, what does that look like if it happens?
That's what I
What does
wanted
his
to get
submission
into as well.
defense look like? What does it look like if
Like,
Aljamain Sterling's able to get that, take his back? What does his defense look like?
to backpack on that as well, like you were saying, the names he was facing, out like if we're being honest, maybe you can argue top three, but he's probably not even top three as far as guys Henry's fought. DJ, TJ, Cruz. I would say those three names are all time better than Aljo. So it's like, how do you like in a general sense, how do you kind of riddle Aljo's going to beat him? Yeah, styles make fights, but how?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, also, I will say if you put like on paper, you're 100% correct. But if you put it in the context in which he fought them, I feel like Aljamain Sterling right now is better than the TJ Dillashaw that Henry Cejudo fought, just given the weight cut.
Say that one. Okay.
So, like, given the weight cut, TJ was not his best version. Dominic Cruz with age and inactivity.
Well, that one's a little like. I feel like the only thing you really say about that fight, yeah, you weren't looking at prime Cruz, but Cruz still went on to win numerous fights after that. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like it was like over the hill Cruz. He still went on to win fights. You know
Still be like Casey Kenny and Pedro
like
Munoz.
there are some guys that have their best performances and their losses. Like my favorite example of that is Chad Mendes when he fought Jose Aldo for the second time. That is the best Chad Mendes you've ever seen. Well, in my opinion, I've ever seen. In any of his wins, any of his fights, that is the best Chad Mendes when he lost to Jose Aldo the second time. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I mean like Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, but so.
So you want me to tell you how Stellan's getting this done or what? Like, you want me to get into it?
Tell me. I'd love to hear it.
All right. So, kind of like what I said about Gilbert and Bilal, I feel like I would love to see a lovely balance of a high-pace forward pressure, but also letting the takedowns and the shots come from Aljo. I feel like the question marks above Henry's head are quite prominent, like the rusty lungs. I haven't seen him in 3 years. How does he look against like a guy who's really ready to go, unlike TJ and stuff like that? I feel like those question marks are quite prominent. So I would like to see a high pace and forward pressure from Aljo early to try to like test those rusty lungs of Aljo. To try to test those rusty lungs of Henry. But that's where my point comes in about him being patient. You know what I mean? Because he can't just try to run in and try to, like you said, sprawl and brawl with them. Because in my opinion, he's probably going to lose that and probably be looking up at the ceiling. And that's crazy to say with Henry being a wrestler, but I feel like he probably will end up laying out Aljo if he tries to get in those type of brawls. So that's where I feel like his long front kicks, the oblique kicks, the turn inside kicks, the long jabs, the long straights, the dip it off straight that he throws to angle off. I feel like we're going to see a lot of different movements, a lot of different awkward strikes from Aljo to keep his range. But ultimately, I feel like his goal is to get the smaller Henry Cejudo down and try to dominate from there to kind of back what you were saying, because Henry is a wrestler. As a prime wrestler, you as a great wrestler, you don't spend time on your back. So that's very unfamiliar position for Henry. And God help Henry Cejudo if Aljo gets on his back. God help that man.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? Literally up until today, which is crazy. I was talking to my mate Harry, and I was like, you know what? You got me. I'm taking Henry. But yeah, all the way up till this day, I was taking Aljo, but I think Henry's getting it done. But like I said, for the sake of the argument, that would be my reason why Sterling gets it done.
Yeah, no, and like I'm not gonna blame someone for picking Aljamain Sterling. I just feel like
no, you can't.
Yeah, I mean his confidence level, you gotta imagine, is just at an all-time high given like the wins he has right now. And this dude is a really great, legitimate champion. People aren't gonna give him his dues just because of how the fights have turned out. But this dude is a fantastic fighter. But I just feel like, man, Henry Cejudo, I feel
Can
like...
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Off topic, but I'm going to forget. We're going to put you on the spot.
Oh, God.
Who's better all time, him or TJ, for a bantamweight?
Oh, that's actually a topic I wanted to get into.
Oh, let's get into it,
Okay,
Jensen.
so with a win, let's say a definitive win against Henry Cejudo, finish
No, 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 no,
UD.
no, no, no.
Okay,
Right now.
right
Just right
now,
now.
TJ's
Yeah, just
better
right
right
now.
now.
Okay, good enough. That's all. I just wanted to make sure you were still human. Okay,
No, yeah,
carry on.
I don't think right now you can argue.
As I said Aljo. I don't know if you remember when I did bantamweights. I did say Aljo over TJ. I looked back
Mm,
at it and I was like,
yeah, but with the win over Cejudo, now does Aljamain become the greatest bantamweight of all time?
that's a better question. That's a
Yeah,
better
because you
question.
think about it.
Being a purist, I would probably still say Cruz.
Hmm.
However, I wouldn't argue with you if you said Aljo. Off the top of my head, I would have to look at it side by side and really think about it. But off the top of my head, I would still say it's Cruz. But like I said, I wouldn't give you much of a holla if you said Aljo.
Right, because I feel like
Especially if he goes out there and finishes Henry.
yeah, and I feel like at a certain point we have to just let go of Dominic Cruz, and don't. That's gonna sound weird,
No,
but
you're right. No, you're right.
but you think about it, it's like how inactive he
We're gonna have to start
was.
letting go of Anderson. If Izzy starts defending the belt a couple more times, sorry, like we're gonna have to let go of Anderson.
Right, because you think about it, I would say Sterling has fought better competition. I would say
That's the biggest thing.
he's been far more
Well,
active.
yeah.
Been far more active. He's had a lot more fights. Um, it's one of those things where it's like he probably. So like you think about it, Corey, Yan, TJ, and Cejudo, like those are better names than.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm kind of nitpicking him again from a pure standpoint. I feel like just a couple of his wins, like his win over TJ, means more than a couple of wins that Aljo has, like his win over Pedro and stuff like that. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of who did Cruz fight in his initial Demetrius Johnson at 135 when he was younger. Then you have
Yeah,
like Uriah Faber.
He tossed him around. He beat
He
Uriah
did.
Faber 3 times. He beat Joey B twice. Scott Jorgensen, Brian Bowles.
Yeah,
Bro, Dominic Cruz is my guy.
good
I love
wins.
Dominic Cruz.
But like, dude, like the way Aljamain dismantled Corey Sandhagen, the way he was able to beat Jan in that rematch, and then if he was able to beat Henry Cejudo, dude, like, you know, you know,
Yeah, but I feel like Dom has the wins to be able to compare.
he does.
You know what I'm saying? Because I even forgot Casey Kenny and Pedro Munoz to add to the list as well. You know what I mean? Those are great wins.
I just feel like his inactivity is just hurting him in the GOAT conversation.
So if I say Cruz, we fine.
No, like I'm fine if you want to say Cruz. I just feel like at a certain point we gotta let him go, man. You know?
Yeah, but you like that with Aldo, so I don't like when you say that.
Oh,
I feel the negative tension when you
because
say that.
anyone who says that,
Aldo, he still is the featherweight GOAT.
dude, anyone who says that Jose Aldo is still the featherweight GOAT at this point, it's just they have the nostalgia just right over their eyes, man. They're completely blinded by it. There's no. I feel like any argument to say that Jose Aldo is the best featherweight of all time is just silly because you think about it. There's been four. There's been four.
My thing is, I understand, like, when you come from a nerd standpoint like you do and you didn't grow up watching, you just look at it on paper, I understand what you're saying.
I've watched the fights.
Yeah, you watch them on YouTube, guy. You Google reviews. My thing is, when you watch it at that time, you have to understand of how great he was, pound for pound, number one. He wasn't gifted the belt when he just came to the UFC. He was that good in dominating guys. He was able to walk into that title shot and defend it 7 times, defend it for a decade and all that stuff. And then my anchoring point, when the guy you try to argue for is the best, is saying Jose is still the best, you don't
That doesn't mean shit. Just because he's humble doesn't mean that it's not what it is.
Humble, you can call it humble. I think I just call it like real recognizes real. But like I said, we'll
let me explain. There's been four undisputed featherweight champs in the history of the UFC. Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, and Alexander Volkanovski. He has lost to every single person on that list definitively. Got knocked out in 13 seconds by Conor McGregor.
Yeah, well, Volk also beat all of them as well besides Conor because he didn't fight him, but Volk would have beat Conor as well.
Got TKO'd twice by Max Holloway. Got just completely...
Conor beat him as well. Conor beat Max.
But
You get what I'm saying?
when he was a baby, okay,
It doesn't matter. You still beat them. Like going off of your silly point, you're trying to make.
beat
Like they all beat each other.
Alexander Volkanovski absolutely embarrassed Jose Aldo. They all did. They all embarrassed Jose.
What are you talking about? Embarrassed them, okay,
Dude, he got
Alexander,
knocked out in 13 seconds.
You don't even understand what Volkanovski did as far as his game plan goes. We don't even have to
Oh
get into the
my
X and O's because I don't want
God.
to twist your brain like a Chinese checkerboard. However, yeah, Volkanovski had a very good performance, but I don't think me and you remember the Max Holloway fights quite equally. I feel like it kind of went, not a direct comparison, but kind of like the way the beginning of the Jan fight went. It wasn't that it was lopsided either way. It was quite competitive up and kind of till it wasn't type of situation. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Those two fights weren't necessarily embarrassments as much as like the McGregor and Volkanovski.
He still
fight.
went, and my thing is too. People don't even look into this. He still went on. He lost his belt, was able to recapture an interim gold, and still went on to win fights, bro. How many people are like that? There's not really many guys that can do it, but that shows how great guys are as well.
For sure.
People don't look at it like that.
No,
but
and
I'm not saying you, but
Jose Aldo, and don't get me wrong, like being the third best or second best featherweight of all time is.
Did you say third?
There's an argument he's the third.
All right,
Okay, are we counting?
If you're going, listen, we're not going to get the whole WEC thing. If you're going to call Max Holloway over Jose Aldo, bro, like go get your head sorted someplace. Like we have a problem.
Is he?
Like I'm catching a flight to Cartersville tonight.
I gotta.
I'm landing on your roof like Santa Claus. I'm coming right through your chimney.
I gotta ask. Are we counting WEC?
Well,
are we? Because if we are, okay, you got me. If we're counting WC, you got me. I might argue that counting WC is a little silly, but if we aren't counting WC, then he's the second best featherweight of all time.
Yeah. All right, what did you say is your next topic yet?
Okay.
I don't want to get into this. You're making my head spin.
So, who are we? Okay, so you're picking. So realistically, you're picking Cejudo.
I'm taking Harry, but I wanted to defend Sterling just for the sake of the argument.
Okay.
But like I said, I had Aljo all the way up until today, so I don't. Yeah. I really wouldn't be surprised if Aljo won.
Same.
But I just have a tough time. So, like I was thinking to myself, I was driving the other day. I was like, when's the last time I saw Henry Cejudo lose a fight? And I was sitting in my room and I watched DJ kick the shit out of him in like 4.5 minutes.
Turn into the fucking Muay Thai god.
But other than that, that was the last. And then I reviewed him versus Benavidez, but I didn't watch that one. I don't remember watching that one live, anyways. But it's like, bro, it's been so long since I've seen him lose, and just the type of competitor he is. I feel like he's
the adjustment king.
Yes, he's a masterful mind, masterful game plan. You know, master at range. He's kind of like John Jones. I was a little hesitant to say it, but it's like. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like betting against John Jones. You're probably not going to do that.
100%. And people don't want to say that because King of Cringe or whatever, but it really is like that. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the question so I don't have to like take a million years to find it. But no, it 100% is like the John Jones thing. Like that's just the type of competitor he is. That's the type of IQ he has. That's the type of adjustments he can make mid-fight. Yeah, so I 100% agree with you. Okay, let me find these questions because I want to get to the fan questions, and the fan questions are basically piggybacking off of this card. So we're gonna do these right away. First, I gotta find them.
I'm plugging my iPad in, my fault.
No, you're good. Yeah. Okay, found it.
That's usually how I go.
Okay, so this comes from JDEVALL.FTA. He asks, will Henry Cejudo achieve what he says he is going to do, parentheses, defeat Aljo, O'Malley, and Volk, to submit...
We talked about this.
We did?
Yeah, Eric said that one last week.
Oh, okay. Well, no, he's not going to do it, basically.
Yeah, because then I was like, oh, it's interesting if your hair beats him, and then Eric was like, nah, your hair kicks his head off. I was like, all right, fair boy.
Okay.
He didn't say it like that, but...
Yeah, and then we already basically asked or answered his follow-up question. How does Aljo's style work against Henry? Well, damn. I guess. I mean, we could do who's gonna be champ, but no, we already did who's gonna be champ. Damn it. Well, I guess...
what was your question? We pushed it aside.
Oh yeah, we could do that real quick. And so I wanted to do let's go division by division, and we could do best striker, best wrestler, chin and cardio, but that's gonna take a while, isn't it?
Yeah, that's gonna take a while.
Well, fuck me. I guess we don't have any questions this week.
Yeah. Fuck's sake. Lazy bastard didn't even post a thing.
Yeah, this was a last minute kind of. We were calling some audibles here. Yeah, we were just having to basically just freestyle, and so yeah, no questions. Sorry.
You got to be for the week, or you gonna cut me short on this one too?
I don't really go on talk. That's pretty much it, dude. Eric leaves for one episode and it just falls off the
Goes
rails.
to shambles. Goes to absolute shambles.
No comments. No
his
beef of the week.
Eric, and his name's not even Eric. It's Elmer's because he's just the glue to this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that was a bar.
That was some heat.
All right, head on. See you guys later.
See you guys. Follow us. Last round was Flagrant Sports. Eric Maddie, even though he doesn't even bother to show up anymore.
Like,
give us comments.
Subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mother, all that good stuff.
Give us comments for content. We need it bad.
This guy said, please.
All right. Well, see you guys.
Hello.